Sequel? You're doing the sequel before the first movie? Explain yourself! Oh my god, you're worse than I thought! Out of all the sequels I enjoy entertainment-wise but have problems with what that sequel has, the crown would go to The Incredibles 2. It's been a long-anticipated wait for The Incredibles to have a sequel. Lots of people love it. I honestly did when I first watched it, but there was something in the back of my head that I couldn't identify. Now watching it like 10 times or something, the answer slowly started to hit. Now all I can say is that it's good, yet kind of underwhelming. I'll go through a quick plot synopsis so you can be caught up with the movie, but if you haven't seen The Incredibles 2 yet, you should probably click off this video. The movie starts off straight after the Underminer introduction scene from the last movie, but this time in Tony Reinger's perspective. During the battle, he sees Violet without her mask and ends up getting obliterated by Dicker and Hermione. The Underminer then escapes and the incredibly screwed over family gets arrested. Bob, who's voiced by Craig T. Nelson, thinks that they did a good thing trying to help, while Helen, voiced by Holly Hunter, thinks that they should just stick with the law and stay in hiding. Lucius, who's voiced by Samuel L. Jackson, invites Bob and Helen to come with him to a wealthy guy who wants them to do hero stuff. No, it's actually legit this time. Winston Dever, voiced by Bob Odenkirk, is wanting to help the supers come out of hiding and make them legal again, but since Bob's record shows that he's messy at the dinner table, they go with Helen instead since she'd make a better first impression. So going against what she said earlier, Helen accepts the job as Bob stays home to take care of the kids, one of whom, Dash Parr, gets a new voice actor since the old one grew up. The replacement's name is Huck Milner. Violet, who's voiced by Sarah Vowell, finds out that Tony's memory got obliterated, making him forget the date they scheduled 16 years ago. So now she's depressed and blames her father since he was the one who contacted Dicker. Anything else I'm forgetting? Oh yeah, they now know that Jack-Jack has powers. Meanwhile, Helen stops a runaway train and is battling Screenslaver, the master of hypnosis and epilepsy. With the help of Winston's sister, Evelyn, who's voiced by Catherine Keener, Helen tracks down the Screenslaver's secret headquarters and arrests him. Meanwhile, Bob takes Jack-Jack to Edna Mode, who designs him a supersuit to help control his powers, and afterwards, Violet forgives Bob for what he did. And now back to Elastigirl. She figures out that the Screenslaver was just a pizza guy being controlled, and that the goggles is what's controlling— BOOM! Twist villain! Evelyn then monologues to Helen that the reason she tried killing hundreds of people on a train and the ambassador in a helicopter is because superheroes keep them weak and lazy. Her plan is to make people think that supers were acting everything out to lower the citizens' comfort and change the law. And to make sure nobody forgets this in the future and tries to make them legal again, have them hijack a yacht and sail it into some skyscrapers. But after Lucius, Bob, and some other supers get hypnotized, Violet, Dash, and Jack-Jack decides to save them. They get onto the yacht and destroy the goggles. With Helen now fully conscious, she's able to stop Evelyn from getting away, as Lucius and Bob stop the yacht from crashing into everyone. Supers are then made legal and all was well. The end. So let's talk about the movie. The negatives and positives are at an equal percentage, and it's really giving me a headache. I'm going to start with the negatives first. The one thing that gets on my nerves the most is the amount of nostalgia bait Disney throws in. For those who don't know the term, nostalgia bait is something familiar that is forced in your face that pretty much screams, "Hey, remember this?" A prime example is the Frozen product being referenced and reminded here and there, and the Disney scene in Ralph Breaks the Internet, which is self-explanatory. But how could The Incredibles 2 have nostalgia bait, you may ask? Well, the scenes and audios I'm talking about are out in the open, just well disguised. At the beginning of the movie, it's almost a shot-for-shot scene from Jack-Jack Attacks, except having a different witness, different dialogue, and the situation being about Violet and not Jack-Jack. And Tony doesn't have anything to do with the legalizing supers thing, or the Elastigirl and Screenslaver scenario. Another nostalgia bait is this.
Girls, come on, leave the saving of the world to the men? I don't think so. Girls, come on, leave the saving of the world to the men? I don't think so.
And then audios like these. Now, to be fair, one could say that they were doing this to save time and money, and I can understand. Voice acting and audio making isn't necessarily easy, though when they use it twice, especially during a time where Disney is relying on nostalgia and merchandise as its crutches, I can't help but point it out.
I'm gonna press the button! Not yet! Press the button! Not yet! Closer target! You got one shot!
Speaking of merchandise, these new superheroes' designs are awful, and with the bright colors and weird facial appearances, they generally feel perfect for merchandising. Like, as if that was their only reason to exist in the movie. None of them at all have any compelling personalities to make them distinctive, besides having different accents. Kind of like the Cars characters in Radiator Springs. Crush looks like a video game avatar, and that scene outside the engine room had to be the dumbest shit I have ever seen in a Pixar movie. He literally crushes this entire hallway, yet can't uncrush it. Is it that hard? Bob has super strength. Couldn't he move this stuff? He was able to toss this big-ass pipe, throw this car at a plane, punch this magic 8-ball, and do a workout routine with diesel locomotives, yet gives up so he can attach himself to the anchor and destroy one of the yacht's fins. Brick is just this female Mr. Incredible with a spineless soul. She only has 2 lines, and the only thing we know about her is that she's from Wisconsin. Why? Electrics. Oh my god, electrics. You can't tell me the designers didn't know what they were doing when they designed this man's face. How big was that shovel? Reflex is the prime example of merchandising. He's short, old, and has the chin and throat of a bullfrog. Screech has to have the most questionable abilities out of all these heroes. Are the wings part of his suit or his body? Is he even human? His head can do a 360 like those creepy dolls. How can he go into hiding if his spine is so flexible? Is that face paint, or did he actually bleach his skin? Imagine he has some kind of emergency, and as his spouse is looking for his super spoot, he's at the mirror applying makeup. Void is the only good one, however, but she isn't given enough screen time for us to fully love her character. Could you imagine if she, Violet, and Dash were working together to save everyone on that yacht? Or if Elastigirl and Void were both assigned to do hero work and stop that train, kind of like a female Batman and Robin? What confuses me is at the end of the first movie, Underminer declares war on peace and happiness, but at the beginning of the second movie, which takes place minutes after he said that, he's now a bank robber. Like, what? Was he referring peace and happiness to people's finances? Speaking of people, these bystanders' designs are just as terrible as these superheroes. Those clothes and hair, the furniture and architecture. To be honest, every time I watch the first Incredibles, I keep thinking it takes place during modern day. So you can imagine how jarring it is watching these two films back to back. The details on the human characters is also too much. The shadowing under their eyes, the wrinkles. Seriously, could we tone down the details, please? As for Jack-Jack's powers, it kind of disappoints me that they didn't explain how superpowers work. There's a theory on the internet that they could have just went along with that theorized that the reason Jack-Jack has so many powers is because he hadn't matured yet. Dash gets super speed since he's impulsive, and Violet gets invisibility and force field since she's shy. But at the end of the sequel, Jack-Jack just apparently inherited all 16 powers, and that's it. Yeah, it's kind of a letdown to be honest, but instead of turning myself invisible while stuffing my face with ice cream using an oversized spoon, let's talk about the positives. Oh wait, before we get into that, there's one other thing I'd like to talk about that isn't a positive or a negative, just a what the hell moment. Elastigirl is in a limo and she spots this girl whose design screams 50 so much and says, "What does your sign say?" And then she shows a sign which says, "The screensaver is still out there." Okay, moving on. The best part of The Incredibles 2 is the dialogue. Everyone has such an interesting conversation, use different vocabulary, and carry this conversation so smooth and realistically. The best dialogue interactions are the ones between Helen and Evelyn. I love the music in the film and it honestly fits just as well as the original. I find it cool that they actually added superhero theme songs for Mr. Incredible, Elastigirl, and Frozone, which can all be heard in the credits. Something that I hadn't realized until this sequel was what happened to the Incredibile. It's at the beginning of the first movie, but it's never seen or mentioned again. The sequel explains that it got destroyed, but then got repaired and sold behind Bob's back. The movie answered a question I would have been asking if I had noticed sooner, which that's pretty cool. Also, Bob was in the right getting his car back, just saying. I like it that Helen gets to be in the spotlight again, and I really felt happy for her during the phone call scene. But like, Bob is kind of in the right here also. Not his attitude, I mean why he's jealous. He was constantly scolded for listening to the police scanner, and after waiting for years to do hero work, he's forced to step back. At least Helen acknowledged how unfair it was for him. The other characters such as Violet, Jack, Frozen, and Edna Mode are just as great as they were before. Dash is the same way, and it's sort of an achievement given how they replaced the original actor. The only difference I could detect was the pitches in their voices. Despite these heroes being so boring, I like their powers and how the park kids fight them. When I first watched The Incredibles, my eyes were locked onto Winston as the villain, but once his sister came in the room, I was like, okay, she's obviously the villain, and then switched targets. Less than an hour, I was right. Now, I like Evelyn as a character. She's just not as good as a villain, and her identity as a screenslaver was predictable. I like her point about Elastigirl trusting Evelyn too soon because she built her a motorcycle, and I found it funny that her excuse for hypnotizing that pizza guy was because the pizza got cold when delivered. And Evelyn is in the right regarding her father's death, but it doesn't make it the super's fault. He was just an idiot. Why? Well, besides not getting to someplace safe, he built the phones in his living room instead of the safe room, which would have been a better location. And it's not like the supers would have been able to get there in time. They're probably in bed or out of the house, away from their phones. And if he does manage to get a hold of them, he'll have to break the silence by whispering, which would in turn blow his cover. Let's face it, he just wanted an excuse to use the phones. Frickin' dumbass. Evelyn's plan about framing supers is not complete garbage. If her plan went through, it'd be hard to get people to legalize superheroes after that. So, it's pretty thought out. I'll give her that. And I get about the whole supers keeping us weak thing, but Evelyn ignores the amazing things regular people accomplished without superpowers, such as herself figuring out how to use hypnosis, Syndrome creating rocket boots and a battle robot, and the Underminer creating a gigantic drill. Okay, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, there's this deleted scene in the bonus feature that really should have been added into the movie. It's where the supers pay tribute to the heroes who were tricked and killed by Syndrome. So that was my Incredibles 2 review. And to be honest, making this video really helped vent my anger and love towards this movie. It's a sequel that's balanced with both negatives and positives. I'm giving 2019 Incredibles 2 movie a 7 out of 10. So with this checked off my list, it's time to get started on the first video of February. And that movie is Alice in Wonderland.
No kips! Do you remember Thunderhead? Tall, storm powers, nice man, good with kids. November 13th of 58! All was well, another day saved when his cape snagged on a missile fin.